Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on May 29th, 2021 at approximately 8:30 p.m. PST. Well, things are slowly starting to turn in the right direction in my opinion. Things are starting to open up, but let us be clear. COVID itself is starting to be pushed aside, which is a great thing in my opinion. But we have to remember that taking things back to the way they were, before COVID, not necessarily a good move. We have to start looking at things from the standpoint of, quite literally, do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. If we go back to the way it was, we go back to greed, debauchery, theft, abuse. These are wonderful things if you're wanting a garbage world to live in. Personally, I've seen enough of it. So, as I said this yesterday, I'm just reiterating it right now. Before the internet came along, I used to look at the big media moguls, and I'd look at it and go, why is it when I look at all this negative stuff out there, and it's all posted on the front page, all this negative, who stole from who ripped who off, who shot who? Now, I'm a firm believer that a good 90, maybe as much as 95% of people, hopefully as much as 95% of people, are decent people, doing decent things. Taking care of themselves, being nice to people, helping other people out. And I ask myself, if most people are like that, then why, when I look at the major media, is all the stuff on the front page all the negative stuff? And I used to blame the major media for that. Your newspapers, your news networks, whether they're on video or like on TV or on radio, didn't matter. I was under the misunderstanding that this was because they were doing that. And many people talked about subliminal programming of the major moguls. Now, like you, probably, I bought into this. And I looked at it and went, okay, that's where the problem is. Until the internet came out. When the internet came out and things like Facebook, Twitter, that sort of thing, when it came out, I found out that the real problem is the individual people. Because with 95% of people being decent people, when I look on the net, 90% of it is garbage. It is who ripped off who shot who overdosed, who sold what drug. There's very little comparatively of who helped who. Of who did a nice thing. There's very little to celebrate. So, of course, needless to say, before the net came out, I quit watching the news to start with. Aside from the weather, which, that was kind of comical on occasion. But now with the internet out, I end up avoiding a lot of what I see on the internet because so much of it is negative. Now, when you look at that, when you look at the fact that so much that's put out there is negative, you got to realize this is stuff that the individuals out there, individual people with access to Facebook, to Twitter, to LinkedIn, individuals, not major corporations, are posting and reposting all of this negative stuff. Now, if that is what people are posting, then is it any wonder that the major media moguls were posting it before the internet came out? I thought that people were over exaggerating, and I really thought that the major media was I'm just taking my boots off because, quite frankly, I don't feel like wearing them. I did think that the major media were the problem. Turns out I was very mistaken. And, to be frank, very disappointed in people on the whole. Because if you've got a lot of good things going on out there, it's time to start spreading the word that decent people are doing decent things. Okay, people talk about the amount of negative energy in the air and the amount of negativity going on. Well, it's going on because people keep spreading it around. It happens anyway, but we don't have to put a spotlight on it. We don't have to put a spotlight on it. And much more importantly, what's happening is the positive stuff is being drowned out. Okay, with so much negative going on, it's just absolutely appalling to me. It's time for people to realize that we do have the ability to change this world for the better without all the excess fear. It's not that fear goes away if you don't talk about it, but it's very much like if you burn yourself, putting it near something hot is going to hurt. It's going to bring that attention back to you. Well, when something negative happens, if you keep reiterating it and saying this is bad and that's bad and this is bad, what ends up happening is you focus on what is bad. Now, there's no question there are bad things that go on. And it is true that bad things happen to good people. And that good things happen to bad people. But the problem is that people are focusing so much on the bad things happening that they're not actually getting the message that there are good things going on. Now, I do encourage you to find a group, be it a veterans group, be it a religious group, what people are calling a pagan group, which frankly is a whole lot older than most of the mainstream religions. Okay, be it just a block of people getting together. Find people that you can sit down and talk to, that you can share similar feelings with, but stick to the positive ones. Do unto others what you desire them to do unto you. Be true to yourself while you're doing that, and remember, energy out, energy in. Okay, all three of those are equally important. Just like the three legs on a three-legged stool are equally important. Okay, if you follow those three laws, and take a look at your own spiritual guidelines. The 10 Commandments, the 11 guidelines, whatever it is for whatever religious covenant you're dealing with or religious group you're dealing with. Take a look at those and compare them to the three karmic laws. And what you'll find is they all fit inside the three. Now, you don't have to take my word for it. Look it up for yourself. Speaking of which, I should actually make a note of doing that. I was talking the other day, and this is what I'm about to write down here. I was talking the other day about putting a list together. I've already got the document drawn up. So I think what I should do is just pop it up onto the internet in point form, like into my Facebook page, on point form, so that people can get a look at it and see what we're dealing with. Okay, that is what I'm just making a note of here. And yeah, I figure if I don't look at it, it's not going to be readable at all by even me, never mind by you. Okay, now I've made a very strong point, obviously, and repeatedly, that this list helps immensely. Okay, which is why I add it to that list when I'm thinking about it. Now, the difficult part in all of this, we have spent the last year and then some, actually about a year and a half now, almost 2 years, I think. Yeah, December through December, we're about a year and a half, caught up in a massive problem. But the reality is, the media and the people, when I say the media, I don't mean mainstream. I mean all social media. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, WhatsApp. I think it's called WhatsApp. All of these little things, FaceTime, that everybody is talking about on the negative. So much emphasis has been put on the fact that it's here that people have been forgetting how to live. Remember, the majority of people out there are decent people. And if you're following a spiritual guide of any form, that is telling you, fear your neighbor. Don't talk to strangers. Stay away from people. I will tell you, the issue of talking to strangers. Okay, understand. I do agree that getting your kid to be cautious is important. Okay, and absolutely don't walk up to a stranger, especially if you don't know them at all. But smiling at them, saying hi, has never killed anybody. Okay, now definitely don't go walking off with them. But we have to remember, a newborn child is a stranger to the parents. And the parents are strangers to the newborn child. If you take a look at that and you go, don't talk to strangers, look at what you're actually asking people to do. Okay, so take a look at that side of it and realize it's time we look at the, I think it was 1973, the Carpenters put out a song called Up, Up with People. Look it up on YouTube. Okay, by looking it up on YouTube, you may find all sorts of interesting things. Okay, not the least of which is the fact that that song tells you, it's just a reminder that people are decent. Okay, this is one of the big things that we have to look at. Now, when I got into doing this channel, okay, it was at the push of an awful lot of people that were listening to me on the radio, asking me to put information out. So that is one of the big things that I really have to get on. Okay, because there's a number of videos that I have to get done that I keep going, I should get them done, and I keep getting sidetracked. Not necessarily a good thing, but like I said, I get scattered. Like today, I ended up doing whoa, that was close. Nearly poured my coffee on my computer. Today, I ended up doing a 2.5, well, technically the interview was 3 hours long, but I think it only recorded about 2.5. Okay, it'll be posted as soon as it gets completed. Like, unlike me, other people do tend to edit things. They do tend to clean them up. In my case, I simply record, double check, make sure I got the date right, and then put it on the internet, and then post it. Okay, that's why I call it a live recording, because I don't edit anything. Now, there's two reasons for that. One, I can't be bothered. I figure, you run into me on the street and you're talking to me, I talk the same way now as I do then. Okay, so you get what it is. You know, whatever you're asking, I will answer in a normal fashion. I do not sugarcoat it. I don't turn it around and try and figure out how best to say it. I made that mistake years ago and it didn't work all that well for me. But, you know, am I a working psychic? Yep, I am. I've been doing it now for, well, professionally, as in generating an income, since 1986. Which means 35 years now that I've been making an income with psychic work. Now, I personally do not like the term psychic. Okay, I have always billed myself as a spiritual guide. And as such, the tools that I use to change my life are the same tools that I'm offering to you. So I know they work because I've used them. But of course, the reality is, if you don't pick the tools up, all the tools in the world, it doesn't matter who you get them from, if you don't pick them up, they are totally useless. So when what I would like to see with this channel is I would like to see it go global. Okay, I'd like to get this message out to people that regardless of what walk of life you come from, regardless of where you started, it doesn't make any difference. Okay, regardless of what planet, what station in life, what country, what part of the world, doesn't matter what species you are. Okay, everybody on the planet is dealing with the same thing. We are all starting from exactly where we are. Right where you are right this moment. That's where you're starting from. How you got there doesn't matter. You've all got that in common. And we are all on this same first planet together. Whatever country you're in, whatever part of the world, you are in a first world country. Not a third world, not a second world, a first world. Now, granted, in certain countries, okay, technology is a little easier, or it's a little bit more accessible. Okay, people only stay caged for so long. Okay, now the fact that they've got better toys does not make them better people. Same as the fact that offworlders have better toys. Okay, aliens have better toys than mankind does. This is just a simple fact. But the reality of it is that that does not make them better. It doesn't make them more valuable. And yes, some of them will absolutely look down on humans and go, we're better than you are. They're wrong, but they will look down on it. Because understand, there are always people, somebody is always better than you, somebody is always worse. Somebody is always richer, somebody is always poorer. Now, it may be hard to find. And understand the real big issue with it where it comes to rich and poor. Rich isn't always about the money. Sorry to disappoint you. Rich, sometimes, more often than not, is what's right here. Because the reality of it is this. Whether you've got a lot of money or not, if this isn't feeling right, that money won't help. Because if you're feeling completely off, you'll spend more money trying to convince yourself you're happy than you ever did trying to deal with it if you're happy. Okay, and that's just, and like I said, don't take my word for it. Do your own research. Talk to your own people. But I will tell you, I am doing my best to get out once a day. And one of these days I'm going to get it so that it comes up at about the same time. But for the moment, I'll simply have to deal with it as best I can. Where once a day I'll come out and talk. Now, yes, I repeat myself an awful lot. Okay, but think of this. If we look at going to a church, to a temple, to a normal group meeting, if you're going on a weekly basis, okay, do you not constantly repeat the same things over and over and over again in the hopes that it sinks in? Okay, now the reality is, and for me, yes, I would like to see this channel grow completely. So please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and spread the word. I'd like to see it get to the entire planet, even if they don't have internet. Because not everybody has the internet. But people do talk to people face to face still. Amazingly enough, okay, there are people that you talk to that are not on the internet and are not on a phone. Okay, and by talking, we will spread the word that this world can be a better place for everybody. But we got to get away from talking about, who is to blame. Okay, who is to blame? Take a look in the mirror. You don't believe me? Look at the internet. Look at Facebook. Look at Twitter. Look at all those little social media things, and see how much is being posted that is absolutely fear-based and negative. Fear-based, greed-based, negative, bullying, you name it. Okay. Look at how much is based on that and how much is based on, gee, this is a nice thing to happen, or this was just to put a smile on your face. Okay. The ratios are off kilter from what I've seen. Now, I haven't done an actual count and said, okay, I counted today out of 50 articles, I counted 5 that were positive and 45 that were negative. I haven't done that. Okay, I hate the whole idea of research myself. I just have too many things on the go. Might have something to do with writing 31 books at the same time right now. But I will tell you this. If we do not start treating each other properly, the negative side effects are going to be absolutely devastating. Now, I just found out today that there was another botanical test that was done where a farmer, and it wasn't really a test, it was just something he did. Technically, that makes it a test. Where he had a whole pile of fruit trees. Some of the trees he just ignored. He'd walk by, he'd water them, do whatever was normal, pruning, all that. Some of them, he kept telling them they were absolutely useless, low-life trees. They were totally pointless, etc., etc. Those particular plant trees produced minimal at best. And yet the fruit trees, the same makes, the same species, he would talk to and say how nice they were, how hardworking they were, how bountiful they were, and how happy he was with them. They produced double the volume in some cases. The point being, if you treat the planet decently, it will respond better. If you treat your employees decently, okay, where it comes to employees, it's real easy. Maximize the positive, publicly maximize the positive, and privately minimize the negative, and you will find you have a much better rapport with your employees. You also have a better work effort. Net result, your bottom line goes up. And I don't know about you, but where it comes to business, that's kind of important in my eyes. Okay, so all in all, things have to change at this point. And I know this is going to upset some people, but, people ask me, do offworlders believe in God? Okay, now understand, I use the term God for only one reason. Basically. And that one reason is simple. I'm lazy. A little hard to believe that I'm saying that when you think I'm writing 31 books at once. Might not be all that lazy, but God is only 3 letters long. God, Allah, Buddha, Krishna, whoever you want to call it, the Great Mother, the Thunderbird, all of these things refer to the same entity. Okay, so what you call it doesn't make a lot of difference. What does matter is that if you're of the belief that God, whoever you call God, created everything, then you got to understand he also created all the other religions at the same time. Okay, and if he did that, he had a reason. Now, I heard some people that claim to be Christians. Okay, and people say this doesn't happen anymore. I got bad news for you. It happened 2 days ago. I had somebody tell me, and they claim to be a Christian, that gay people were a mistake. Now, given the fact that, first of all, according to them, God doesn't make mistakes to start with. Secondly, if you take a look at the proof that we've seen, okay, and that is that when you take the entire mammalian population, okay, and that means cats, dogs, cattle, people, seals, take all of them. Roughly speaking, 4% are gay. Now, with that in mind, can you really picture whoever you call God making a mistake with 4% of his creation? Okay, and when we go into the avian, it gets worse. The black swan, for instance, you're looking at 49%. Quite frankly, in that respect, it's kind of surprising they actually have a growth curve, but, I'm not the one to do the study there. The point being, these are, all of these are part of the same parcel. Everybody working together. Plants have feelings, animals have feelings, people have feelings. Treat people and everything else the way you desire to be treated. Okay, I have seen myself the negative impact of negative energy on rock stability. Okay, on the integrity of foundations. Negative energy can shatter foundations. Not just in a family unit, but in physical buildings. Now, the reality is that we have a massive problem we're still dealing with here. Now, yes, it looks like things are starting to come out of the COVID mess. Okay, which means it's time to get down to business. It's time to start treating people decently so we don't have this problem again. Okay, very important, and I do encourage you to reach out to people, whether it's over video, whether it's pick up the phone and talk to somebody you haven't talked to in a long time. Maybe it's getting together with friends, keeping distance proper. You don't need to be sitting on everybody's lap. Well, that depends. If you've got a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a husband, a wife, sometimes that's not a bad idea. But on the whole, make sure you give people a little bit of room. There used to be something we operated with called the personal bubble, which boiled down to 3 feet around you. Well, if everybody stays 3 feet back, nobody feels really crowded, and we get on with life. But this idea of fearing everything around you isn't working. It's time for the spiritual leaders and the guides to start pointing out to people that on the whole, this world actually has a lot going for it. It is time to quit pointing out all the negative things, all the things that are wrong, and, well, he should have done that, and I'm going to point the finger and say, that politician should have done better. You do remember that that politician, whoever it is, still has one critical factor that puts him exactly where you are. He is at this point in his life, right where he is right now. Well, how he got there is irrelevant. From the standpoint of he's still there and he's still got to go forward. And remember, where it comes to politicians, it's you people that have put them there, either by voting for them or by not voting against them. Okay. And that obviously applies to democratic communities. But if you're not actually helping deal with the problem, then in my opinion, you're actually still part of the problem. Okay, for instance, if you're trying to clear a section of the let's try for English. If you're trying to get a park cleaned up, okay, and you see people out there picking up the garbage, if you're not up there helping them, and this is not always physically feasible, but if you're not helping, okay, it's not so much that you're causing part of the problem, but you are making it take longer to get it done, to get it straightened out. And of course, if you're watching people pick up garbage and you just drop it on the ground, and this, by the way, applies to the people that are living in somebody else's home, as in the children or renters, they're living in a home that somebody else is paying for the majority of it. If you're not helping keep it tidy, you're part of the problem, because you can bet your bottom dollar if you're living there, you're helping make it dirty. Okay, and that's just the reality of it. Now, I do keep these to a half hour, and since we're coming to a close, if you've got questions in any field, take a look at the list below this video and you'll see a whole list of ways of contacting me. You'll also find a list of publications I've already got in print that can be ordered through me. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and let's see if we can take this channel and spread it across the globe to let people know that when we choose to work together, when we choose to treat others as we desire to be treated, that is when this world becomes a more effective, more prosperous place for everybody. Now, I will be back again tomorrow, but until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.